Hello and welcome to The Mindful Life with Waylon Lewis. Take a great posture and with respect and friendliness bow to the whole world. Give it away. So recently I did a podcast video on the two kinds of love, which sounds like a made-up, profound story by, one of these writers. But basically it was a very simple notion of, and now we have to pause and thank our sponsor Pellicase for making the only super cool, hip, non-plastic, it's compostable phone case. So thank you Pellicase for being awesome and making this podcast and video series possible. Pellicase. So I want to talk about, I did talk about the two kinds of love. One is genuine and hard and open and vulnerable. And one of them is sort of, going to Netflix, clicking on About Time, which is a romantic rom-com I love it, and thinking that's what love is. Any sort of picture of love based on your ideas. That's like when you fall in love with someone you've been on one date with, you're in the second kind of love. So love based on projection or idea, perfection, happily ever after. Oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm not making fun of that. We all do that, especially when we're young. When we're old and bitter, we do it less. And the first kind of love based on real experience, which is hard. You have 2-hour long conversations about how someone's butt looks in their jeans and how what you said makes them feel about that. And you're like, how did I get here? This is not my beautiful life. But it is, because it's real. So there's the Dr. Seuss quote, which is, I think it's Dr. Seuss, which is, this love is more beautiful than any other kind of love because it's real. I'm hacking that quote, but that's the intent. So within the first kind of love, the real love that's messy, chaos should be regarded as extremely good news, Trungpa Rinpoche said. Within that one, to Minority Report, pull that one over. We open that up. There's two qualities to genuine love. The first quality is love, affection, warmth, cuddling, sexy time, passion, that kind of stuff, warmth. The other kind of quality within genuine love, which gets ignored regularly by category 2 people, is independence. Because it can feel cold. But if you don't have independence, which is not cold, it's spacious. Which is not cold, it's spacious. If it's cold, you may be in category 2 of love over here. Space is vital, as I write in my book, Things I Would Like to Do With You. Space is a part of love, just as the oceans are a part of the earth, the planet. So if you have all affection, that might sound good, right? Hot and heavy, everything's great. You're PDAing in the back of like Red Robin or whatever, Bennigan's, some chain restaurant. You're making out in the corner booth. You can't get enough of each other. You're making out in the library. You're making out in the cafeteria. You're making out in the public square. You're making out everywhere. And people are like, oh my God, when are they going to chill out? Chill out. Notice that. So when are they going to get a little space in that love? When, how many of us know couples who just disappear? They're parts of our friends and then they get together and they're gone. They never come to brunch again because they just say, all my life I've just been biding my time with my friends until I actually find someone who I can be friends with and be in love with and have sex with. And then I'm going to forget about all my friends. And then maybe if I get broken up or dumped, then suddenly I'm calling up my friends again. I'm like, yo, where's the brunch meeting at? I know I've been gone for 6 months, but I've been hot and heavy with this, and it didn't work out. And again, I'm not making fun of that. I've done that. We've all done that. So the downside of being all affection all the time is it's like a big claustrophobic, hot, sweaty room. And some of that may be sexy and hot, but ultimately you want to open up a window. You want a little fresh air. So fresh air, space. The downside of if you have a relationship with too much independence, too much space, is they're playing games with texting. They're not getting back to you. There's not trust. There's not dependability. There's not affection. It's just all independence. You want someone who's independent, who's a rock star, who has his or her own career, who has his or her own friends, who has his or her own interests, who goes on hikes with her friends or hikes with his friends. And you want to be able to trust that. That's independence. Fantastic. So let's look at a healthy relationship, which has half of both. So you're hot and heavy, you're super passionate, you communicate about awkward stuff, you're close, you are tender, you are loving. And then number 2, you don't mind if person who you're so loving about goes on a hike with someone. You don't mind if someone you are close with has their own work and interests. You're not trying to get into their phone or go in their Facebook or do this crazy, like, untrusting behavior. And on the other hand, that independence gives you enough space, and it gives you enough independence to have your own life, have your own interests, and bring those back home to that lover, to that person. And the space and the warmth can constantly inform one another and benefit one another. So all that probably is super obvious, and at this point you're wondering why, other than the exhilarating Pillowcase announcement you're listening to this, is because most of the time we think of love as the warmth, and we forget about the space. I grew up practicing Japanese flower arranging, which had branches like this, and flowers, and a little like shrubbery down here, or moss, and then it was in water and in a vase or I forget what they're called. But a big part of Japanese flower arranging is the branch would be like shaped in a creative way, kind of like a bonsai tree, shaped in a way that framed a lot of space. So it was said that at least, I don't know, half of the arrangement was how the form shaped and gave definition to and highlighted space. And that's what you want a relationship to be. So what issues arise when you have too little affection, too much space? Well, if you don't have a ground of affection, you're going to be a little untrusting if your significant other wants to go on a hike. I was horrified years ago when I had a girlfriend who, she told me, and she was horrified, she said most of her girlfriends wouldn't allow their boyfriends or husbands to go on hikes with members of the opposite sex. And she thought that was like the least feminist thing she'd ever heard, the most insecure, the most uptight, and the most untrusting thing. And I agreed. My girlfriend would go on hikes with guys, no problem. I would go on hikes with girls, no problem. If you're LGBTQ, whoever you're attracted to, no problem. Where there is a problem there is if there's a lack of trust. And if there's a lack of trust, that may mean there's not enough warmth in the pot. But even with the most warmth in the whole world, you could be like, super passionate, but you still don't want anyone to be near them. And that's, number 1, super neurotic, and you need to chill out and allow more space. But number 2, we all get into that a little bit. Clingy. You've got a good thing and you just want to keep it for yourself. Well, the lover, again, remember the vision and things I would like to do with you in my other podcasts and videos. The vision of a relationship from a Buddhist point of view isn't that hot and heavy love is for us. It's that it's to help us both be of benefit to the whole world, which includes us. So we need to not view, a relationship as just for us. We need to view it as something for the whole world. And number 2, there's a chapter again in things about, I would like to talk with you about difficult things. So if your lover is going on a hike with someone attractive to them, attractive in your mind, someone who clearly has a crush on your significant other, you need to be able to say, so you should be aware that, and I'll go through some scenarios, that I feel a bit insecure about you going on a hike with a super hunky guy who's in way better shape than I've ever been in, who, can climb crazy crags, no problem, and I'm over at the spot indoor gym falling on my head. and he's super charming, and he's from that place that you love with the accent that you love, or he's studied the thing you love, or I just feel insecure. I don't feel great about it. Whew. Take a good breath. You have to be able to bring that up. Or in another scenario, maybe you're not insecure at all, but maybe you notice that that person totally, maybe it's a coworker, has a crush on your significant other. Hey, honey, you should be aware that it's pretty obvious that whoever over here has a crush on you. You don't need to do anything about that. You're totally welcome if you'd like to go on a hike with them. You don't need to ask my permission, but it doesn't hurt if you do. But you don't have to. But you should be aware of that, and you should be ready for an awkward lurch. At the top of the hike, at the summit, they're going to have a beautiful moment in their mind, and they're going to be in love number 2 out of their projections, and they're going to go in for a, or maybe it's not even that direct or awkward, but just that they're trying to play some manipulation game sometimes, or just if they're a big sweetie but they're insecure, they're just going to bumble around and try to fall in love with you. You just should be aware of it. It's good to be prepared for that. That whole version comes from my colleague who had that sort of go on, and it related that to me in a way that was without jealousy, was without neurosis. It's okay to just be simple and straightforward. And then, did we go through all I feel like that might be all the things in terms of those difficult conversations. You need, in a relationship, to be able to have difficult conversations. My private heaven in a relationship is often on date number 1, or date number 3 or whatever, where you're a little bit cuddly and romantic, but you don't have all these difficult conversations yet. Things are so nice. You're at a play, you're enjoying it, everything's so romantic, you've both dressed up. It's so easy and it's so delicious. That's wonderful. But facing facts, when you're a couple months in to Minority Report, forward a few months, you're going to be having 20-minute arguments about how much avocado is the appropriate amount to have on your burrito, and how you were rude to the waitress and you embarrassed me in front of the manager, and stupid conversations where you're going to be like, how did I get here? Was someone intelligent and beautiful to me and loving, and now we're arguing about guac, And that's my private hell, and it's all of our private hells. But what we have to do if we're emotionally intelligent people, or if we want to be emotionally intelligent people, is we have to be willing to be vulnerable. We have to be willing to have awkward conversations. So without trying to be right all the time, there's that viral tweet we've shared on our Instagram.com/elephantjournal, which is, it's not you versus me in a relationship, it's both of us versus the problem. So if the problem is, I'm jealous, I'm insecure, you're flirting with someone in front of me, which is super disrespectful, you're not checking in with me at a party ever, I feel like we're not communicating. You have to be willing to talk about all that stuff, not from the point of view of winning. If either of you are trying to win, you need to talk about that. Look, honey, I feel like you're trying to win these arguments. I wrote about that in my book today. I don't normally refer to the book, but there's a part that says, I don't want to win against you. I don't want to lose against you. I don't want you to lose against me. We're in this together. So, vulnerable conversations, independence, affection, space, warmth, love. All of that means love, which is all in category 1, which is real love. If you're not willing to have awkward conversations about guac or a hike with a lover, you can't do number 1. So you just got to go in and do it. People say, oh, it's work, it's work, it's work, it's work. Sadly, I think that's true, which is why I'm still a bachelor, because I can reflect on all of this. But man, when you get in there, it's like getting under the hood of a car, which I have very little experience in, considering that I bike every day. But it is greasy, it's dark, it's ugly, it's not shiny chrome. It's not a cool experience with your pumping your Beyonce going down Pearl Street and everyone's like, who's that cool person? You're under there sweating on a hot day, between cement and grease dripping in your face. And that's love. Thank you so much. Get your compostable phone case and give it away.